Well, hello, my name is Jim Royal. I am a huge Beatles and Elvis Presley fan, and if you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe below. There'll be many more videos to come. Today, though, I wanted to do in my series the Beatles Fantasy 1972 album, What Would Be On It. I've already done one for 1970 and for 71. This is the idea of what if the Beatles had not broken up in 1970? What if they were still a functioning band in 1972? It was time to go back in the studio, record another album. So my thing for this would be, what would be on it? What would they choose? What we're doing is, we're going to play kind of a fun thing, and I'm going to ask for your participation too. So this is where you draw it from. Songs that were either released or recorded by the solo Beatles in the year 1972. Two, it had to be a song as much as possible, though I'm going to be bending a lot on this particular one, and I'll tell you why later. But as much as possible, if you really think I could hear this on a Beatles album. Because some of the stuff they did solo, you know, it just, you could imagine it never appearing on there. Alright, and then three, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with their record company, EMI in England, the 14-song format, because that's the way that they design their albums. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to call this album Four Sides to the Circle. And this was a John Lennon title for the album Revolver. It was an early title. Paul had one called Magic Circle. There were other ones. So I'm calling it the Beatles Four Sides to the Circle. And I think I'm doing it in this case is because there's some diversity on here, but then there's also a lot of similarity in what they're talking about. All right, so picking this out, when you guys are choosing it, here's some ideas. John Lennon had one UK single, Happy Christmas, War Is Over. It was originally from 71, but it took a year to be released in the United Kingdom. He also had one solo album with Yoko Ono called Sometime in New York City, and that was released in 1972. So that's what we have to draw from John. Paul McCartney had no albums that were released in 1972, but he did have three singles. He had Give Ireland Back to the Irish early on with Wings, and then there was an instrumental as the B-side. Later he had Mary Had a Little Lamb, the next single, and then the B-side to that was called Little Woman Love. And then finally he had the single in December of 72 called Hi Hi Hi, that's H-I-H-I-H-I, and there was a B-side called Sea Moon. Alright, a little reggae inspired song, that B-side. And he was working on the album Red Rose Speedway. In fact, that album was recorded in 1972, so we can pick material from there if we want. Now George Harrison was working on, he was doing backing tracks for his new album called Living in the Material World. He had started later in 72, so I'm going to be drawing songs from that. And then finally Ringo, he had one single that was released, that's called Back Off Boogaloo, with the B-side Blind Man. Alright, so that's what we have to choose from. So, I'm going to start off starting off the album called Get On the Right Thing. It's going to start it off. That was from Paul McCartney and Wings, Red Rose Speedway. This was a song that was actually a leftover from Ram, the solo album from Paul and Linda McCartney. But I like it, I could see them doing it, be the Beatles, and I think it's a nice way to start off the album. This is just a great song. And like I said, it was on Red Rose Speedway. Alright, the next song is extremely controversial and in today's age, and I'm going to try to defend it in the case that it's called Woman is the End of the World. Alright, when John wrote this, he was not trying to offend any group. He was pro-women's liberation, and he was also pro-civil rights. In fact, at the time, him and Yoko appeared on African-American magazines like Jet and Ebony defending the song and basically just saying, look, you know, we're on your side. You know, we're here, this is a protest song. This is a protest song basically saying that, you know, we believe in, you know, what you guys are standing for. We believe in the same things. He even appeared on the Mike Douglas Show, which was a talk show in the United States. He performed the song. The song was released as a single. So I'm not going to go into it more than that, but I think it's the strongest song off Sometime in New York City. I've always liked the song, and I think if you listen, if you look at the lyrics, I think the song has really good meaning. And I know I don't see the Beatles recording it, but like I said, I'm making an exception here. All right, the next song, song number 3, would be called Give Ireland Back to the Irish. And this was the first Wings song, single. It's not one of Paul's strongest songs. There was protests going on in Northern Ireland, a lot of fighting. There was civil unrest, and it was the issue where people were just not happy being governed by the central government, and they wanted a change. So he decided that there was something that had happened, a particular event, and he wrote a song about it. Actually, John did too, and I'll talk about that later. It's not one of Paul's strongest songs, but I do like the song, and it is catchy, and it's my song number 3 on the album. Song number 4 is called Try Some, Buy Some. This was a song that originally George Harrison wrote it, and he gave it to Ronnie Spector, Phil Spector's wife. She was one of the Ronettes. Be My Baby fame. By this point, she was trying to make a comeback, and she released this solo single. It didn't do anything, unfortunately, but I thought it was a good song. George did too. He ended up remixing the song for his Living in the Material World, so he used the same backing music from 1971. He remixed it, and he added a new vocal in 73. So for me, for my fantasy album, this is the one I'm putting on here. The next song is called Back Off Boogaloo. This is song number 5. This is Ringo's particular song that I'm putting on here. Ringo always got one song per album at least, so this is his. And this song is excellent. I love this song. This is like just a fun, good time, party anthem song. This is what Ringo, I think, works best with. It's kind of like Jimmy Buffett. You know that when you listen to Jimmy Buffett stuff, you're going to have a good time. And I think some of Ringo's stuff comes across that way too. This is a song that he wrote that George Harrison produced, and George Harrison also plays guitar. So that's why I also think it is linked on here significantly. You have Klaus Verman playing bass. Klaus was an old friend of the Beatles from the Hamburg days, and he also, just for trivia, he did the artwork for the cover of Revolver. I like the song Back Off Boogaloo. It's just a lot of fun. The next song is called Sunday Bloody Sunday, and this was John Lennon's response to some of the protests happening in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and I like it. It's a good song. I know some people don't like it as much, but I always have, and it's a good catchy number. Again, the subject matter, Sunday Bloody Sunday. It's not a good subject matter, but that this is some of the realities that they were dealing with at that time, and they decided to address in their lyrics, their songs. All right, the next song on here would be song number 7, and that's called Hi Hi Hi. This was the last song from Wings, released as a single in 1972. I love this song. I always have. It's a fun song. We're gonna get high, high, high. I think till the morning comes, and it's fun, okay? It's it's just a good time. It was banned by the BBC in Britain. I've always liked it. I know it's spelled H-I-H-I-H-I like I said, but I think it refers to, obviously, like all of us know, getting high. Alright, it's a good rocker though, it's really good. The next song is called New York City. This is John Lennon's song from Sometime in New York City. It's similar in the sense of like the Ballad of Yoko, the Ballad of John and Yoko. It is a rocker though. It talks about John Lennon and Yoko Ono in New York City and what they're dealing with at that time, all the excitement that they were facing when they came to live here in this country. All right, Win the Night is song number 9. This is a song from Red Rose Speedway. I like this song a lot. I could see this song, it's Paul's vocal and Paul's song. I can see him easily doing this from the White Album. It just sounds so similar to me if you listen to it. You sit back, listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just a nice number, not too much to it, but it's always been a fun song for me from that album, from Red Rose Speedway. All right, the next song is called Don't Let Me Wait Too Long, and this is from George Harrison. It's song number 10 on my Fantasy album from 1972. It was a song that was released on Living in the Material World, and again, the backing music was recorded in 72. I know there's different interpretations of this song. I've been told different things, reading different things. I was told that it's a spiritual song. A lot of the songs from Living in the Material World are. It was also dealing with, he was dealing with an issue with his wife, breakup of his marriage. It was starting to break up, and he went on this trip in Europe, driving trip by himself, and just to get away. And I think this is one of those songs that eventually came out of that, just looking at his life, at where he was at that time. The song was going to be a single off Living in the Material World. It is a nice song. It features Ringo Starr on drums, which I think is really nice too, though the single was scrapped for whatever reason at the last minute. All right, well, we only have a couple more songs on here. The next song is called The Mess. This is a live song from Paul McCartney and Wings. It was a B-side, I believe it was a B-side to My Love, and it was recorded in 1972. It was live from that period. I love it. It's a great rocker. I personally could see the Beatles do something like this, and I've always just liked it. There is a studio version out there, a bootleg. It was going to be on Red Rose Speedway, but it was not. Unfortunately, it didn't materialize that way, but at least we have this single. I just love it a lot. It's on the B-side. It's one of the bonus tracks off of Red Rose Speedway if you buy the CD. Alright, the next song is called The Luck of the Irish. Here's another song, John addressing the Irish and the issues that they were facing at that time. It's a ballad. I do like it. In my opinion, some of the material on Sometime in New York City was a little weaker for John. It wasn't his strongest material, so it was a little harder for me to choose some material. There was material I left off, like John Sinclair on here and Attica State. It seemed like when he was recording these songs, by the time he released them, the issue was, basically over with by that point. Alright, the next song is called Sea Moon. I love Sea Moon. It's a reggae influenced number. It's just fun. I could see the Beatles having a good time, kind of an obla-dee, obla-da, but something that they actually liked. Paul and Wings are having a good time recording this song, and I've always liked it. This was the B-side to Hi Hi Hi, which was released in 72. Finally, we have Happy Christmas, War is Over. This was a song, like I said, it was recorded in 71, but it took a year for it to finally be released in the United Kingdom as a single in 72. So that's why I'm including this. I think this is John at his best. Happy Christmas, War is Over, if you want it. And it's just, I love the Children Choir. I could see the Beatles doing something like that. Now Yoko is on here, but Yoko was also on Beatles songs too, off the White Album. So I could see this, I could see them doing this for Peace and Love, and I think this is a nice way to close the album. Well, that's my interpretation. What do you guys think of it? Like I said, why don't you leave some ideas of songs that you think maybe I left out, or if you agree with me or disagree. And again, I want to thank you very much for watching my video, and you have a good day. Take care. Bye.